Welcome to episode 49 of Why Not Read Alpha Flight with Chris Baker
and Tom Flynn, a podcast where we take your favorite series seriously.
We are back! Sorry for the longer break between episodes, but Tom needed a bit of time to get the rage back in the box after last episode's shenanigans? Does that cover it?
Yeah, y'all, I was so sick I couldn't even get angry thinking of Hudnall. Like, there are moments during the day where someone says something or I see something and I have a flash of this current run and my heart rate spikes. That wasn't happening, and then I lost my voice. Damn you, Hudnall.
Hudnall's story was so bad it made you physically ill.
You know, not the story, just the explanation for Lon the Sorcerer's name. And I'm not going to put any kind of special anything on that dumb name. It's just Lon.
Lon. Yeah, that's how we're going to pronounce it now. Great. You know, the best jokes are the ones that we stumble into and turn into a repeating nightmare that we hammer into the ground. Love it. Love it. We've got the next 3 issues of Alpha Flight for you today. They're not connected in any way. No real story arc to speak of other than the growing power of the dark side under Lon's subtle direction. So let's hit it with the stories so far.
Canada's premier superhero team, Alpha Flight, has accepted an offer from the city of Edmonton to protect the city. The city elders gave them a new base, which has been dubbed Maison Alpha. North Star, were he still on the team, would accuse them of cultural appropriation and have absolute kittens over that name, and I am with him for that. The team is led, as always, by the totally human Heather Hudson, who is engaged to the mutant technopath Mr. Madison Jeffries. Recently returned to the team is the mystic powerhouse Elizabeth Two Youngman, aka Talisman, who has been bossing around everyone because of some big evil thing. Involving Lon, the sorcerer, who sucks, and apparently will be around for a bit, so that's just
peachy.
Great.
Yeah. She also dragged her father, Dr. Michael fucking Two Youngman, aka Shaman, back onto the team for no real reason because he has done exactly nothing since coming back to the team.
Original team member Puck has also returned after being kept as a gimp, possibly, for one of the team's main bad guys, the Dream Queen, for several months? I think it was months.
Things get really wibbly-wobbly here in Hudnall.
Time has really no meaning.
And, of course, Alpha Flight mainstay, secret agent linebacker superhero Dr. Walter Lankowski, a.k.a. Sasquatch, the dumbest smart guy you know.
They really have dumbed down Walt since the early days. I mean, I'll take that. I'll adjust that. Walter, since that's what everyone's calling him now, is dumbed down significantly. I think we can maybe distinguish between the 06 Walt, even the Mantlo era Walt, and Hudnall's Walt, because they come across as fundamentally different characters.
I really think that it was his time bouncing around between bodies, and it wasn't just the time in Wanda, it was also the time in Box. It was the time in the white Sasquatch body, which is different than the Tanorak body that he had as orange Sasquatch. His time in Smart Alec. I think that whole thing would do a number on anybody, and I respect that they are showing that in Walt through, dare I say, Tom, character growth. Oh, God. His eye twitched, people.
I'm not remotely. I mean, I absolutely see the argument you're making. And I think that is us doing the work to justify this.
Yep.
And it's not necessarily being done on the page. And that's a frustration for me. But we can move along. Walter is also less of an asshole since his rapid cycling body horror that you just described.
Well, rapid cycling body horror is my Rocky Horror Picture Show themed Peloton class series.
That's actually that's not a bad name for that kind of a Peloton class.
As much as I love that joke format, boy, this one really just, it was solid gold, you know?
Yeah, that spoke to you.
All right, well, let's dive into our issues. Alpha Flight number 76, titled Bad News, cover date November 1989. Our familiar crew brought us this one. James D Hudnall writing, John Calimee penciling, Mike Manley on inks, Janice Chiang on letters, Bob Sharen on colors, Marc McLaurin as associate editor, Carl Potts as the editor, and Tom DeFalco as chief prosecutor. Boy, these Tom DeFalco credits are just about the highlight of the Hudnall run.
The credits page is still that striking black and white with stylized lettering and the big group sketch. It's just a reminder that there are still some interesting bones and packaging to this comic, even if what's happening on the page is less.
I am going to come back to that as we wrap up at the end. So that is a good marker here for what I'm going to talk about in a very different context.
On the cover, text above the logo says, "Stand aside." So it reads, "Stand aside, Alpha Flight," and a lower box says, "Gamma Flight is here."
And bursting through the page, knocking aside our heroes, minus Shaman, he didn't make the cover.
Knocking aside our heroes are 5 characters, centered, and clearly the leader is Nemesis.
Remember her? From issue number, I had to look this up, it's so long ago, 31, where the issue closed with her dissolving into dust and leaving her magic sword behind. This after a single other appearance in issues number 7 and 8. Weird deep cut, James. Just weird. But then again, Tom, they do get weirder.
Oh, please, no.
Next, we have the familiar villain, Wild Child, slashy claws and purple and black tights. He looks like Iggy Pop in an Elsa wig.
I can never not see that now. Oh. It's also really accurate.
It is, I know.
There is a redheaded woman in black leather with little black demon horns, and flying above them all are 2 figures, one clad entirely in gold and the other in silver.
All right, listeners. Look, buckle up. This issue, I'm going to rip the Band-Aid off. This issue has the highest body count in all of Alpha Flight, and I don't mean the fun body count. We're going to hold off on the sound effects for reasons that will soon become clear. First page is a close-up of what we realize is a dead man's eyeball. The camera pulls away to reveal another 5 bodies next to him on the street, all sprawled out like cut marionettes. So that's a 6er on this page alone.
The Canadian military is there and grateful to see Canada's superhero team Gamma Flight arrive on the scene like they're the big damn heroes.
They're not the big damn heroes, they're Gamma Flight. They're Gamma. They're the 3rd team. They're the C team. They're not even the B team. Sorry, why would you name your premier superhero team Gamma Flight?
Well, gamma radiation, I don't know.
None of them are gamma powered. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw off your flow. We can cut the whole thing, but I just... Why is it called Gamma Flight? Why didn't they just take the name Alpha Flight? The government probably owns the name anyway. What's Heather going to do, sue them?
It'd be really wild if Walt actually owned the mark. That'd be pretty something. But
oh, man, you're right. I bet Walt does have a team of family lawyers who took care of things like that. You know, they're hinting at this with the cutscene in Thunderbolts when like the Avengers that Sam is running into trouble with this other crew of Avengers, of the actual Avengers, and who gets to call themselves that because somebody owns the name Avengers. Tony probably does. I don't think Sam has the legal authority to just like start calling his team the Avengers. You and I can't say read Alpha Flight with the Commodores, you know?
That's why the Commodores?
Oh, they're in the news because of this stupid concert thing. And I've been having so much fun with the fake bands that are listed as not playing. I think my favorite was Wild Stallions has announced they will not be playing the show.
That was a pretty good one. Back to the issue. As the military man briefs him on the mysterious mass deaths, the art shows an entire suburban neighborhood of people just dead in the streets. We see on page 3, 14 dead human bodies, including a mother holding her baby in the grass. There's also a cat in one scene, but it's not totally clear whether it's dead or alive, but based on the context, I'm going to count that as another death. So 15 on this page.
Yeah, it's just going to keep coming. The redheaded woman wearing somehow a more lingerie version of Silk Spectre's outfit is named Witchfire and is the magic user person for Gamma Flight. The 2 flying characters are named Silver and Auric. Like silver and gold, Tom, get it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are Chinese twins, and look, don't get too attached to them. I'm confused why we are just throwing these Chinese twins in here when Jade Dragon was right there and we had him and then we just tossed him back. Why'd we? Anyway, here's a fun little aside for you, Tom. In high school, my class valedictorian gave me a tip on how to remember the chemical symbol for gold. Just remember, hey, you with the gold.
I have no idea why that stuck with you like that. Okay.
Well, I mean, look, AU has nothing to do with gold. That's why it stuck with me, because that's how you remember it. Hey, you with the gold.
Wild Child still has no real character development, but what do you expect from an animal-based character named Wild Child?
Oh, it'll come, Tom. God help us. It'll come. He and Aurora date.
Alpha Flight is back in Heather's... wherever she lives these days. She's calling her mom and figuring out the date and how many bills she's missed while they were gallivanting through dimensions. 3 months they were gone. 3 months.
Can you imagine calling your mom and being like, hey, sorry, I don't know what's going on. What's the date today? Like...
Could you imagine one of your kids doing that? Like, how fast would you be at their house being like, all right, you need to pee into this cup.
You need a new job, honey. This job, not working out for you. It has wrecked your credit. It pays nothing.
Shaman and Puck both collapse off the couches and succumb to the injuries that were previously covered over by the Dream Queen's magic dimensional stuff. But remember that Puck was able to regain his height and also consistently recover from the various injuries the Dream Queen inflicted on him. Shaman got screwed up pretty badly in
he took a Mjolnir to the chest, man.
Yeah, but was using the magics of that dimension to heal himself. And it turns out that once you leave the dimension, that stuff doesn't quite apply any longer. The team leaves them at Ottawa General Hospital and rushes off to Montreal when they hear there's a disaster happening.
Well, good call last episode, Tom, where you identified that this would be the problem. Maybe we just hang out in the Dream Queen's dimension for a little while longer and let these guys get properly healed up.
You'd think, and yet. Shaman is utterly wasted in this book so far.
He's taking up page time and not doing anything for it, man.
I
would take the Doug over Shaman at this point.
I don't get why you bring him back if this is what you do with him.
Right. I'm confused. Gamma Fight is finding out that everything around them, or everyone around them, is dead, except for one roughly 6-year-old girl who speaks with a demonic voice and seems to be in charge here. Spoiler, she's also dead. She is introduced with her own splash page of her holding a bloody butcher's knife and surrounded by 2 dead cats and a dead dog, and weirdly doll parts floating around her in an eldritch manner. And you know, Tom, I think those are supposed to be actual babies, or at least parts of them.
This little girl says she is a messenger, but the message isn't for Nemesis or Gamma Flight, and then unleashes a horde of zombies in the new team to keep them busy. These zombies are, of course, the dead bodies of the people in this neighborhood, and this is where our death counter gets a little bit tricky.
See, every zombie in the horde is a death that happened in this issue, but there's a lot of horde shots, and that makes it hard to tell which specific zombies you're seeing. I made a good faith effort to count how many distinct bodies are shown in this issue, and my best estimate is 60. So as I started reading this, Tom, I wondered if there would be enough beer can opening sound effects to fill out the I know section of Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone, but that's only 26 I knows in a row, and we need more than twice that to cover this issue.
26 in a row?
Bill Withers does 26 in a row. You heard it here, folks. Anyway, there's more dead bodies than I can work with for that joke now, and it's sad.
That's a lot of dead bodies.
Blah, blah, Gamma Flight is losing, Alpha Flight shows up, turns the tide, the messenger is a demon working for the sorcerer that gives a warning to Talisman, who in turn showboats a bunch of you'll never win, evil thing stuff, and then all the zombies collapse and Sasquatch yells, we won! While surrounded by literally dozens of dead bodies. Sorry to yada yada the issue, folks, but that's what happens. And Silver and Auric are terrible. Not mean. They're just flat and speak in this precious way. You know what I mean? That vaguely offensive way of making anyone from Asia speak in Marvel Comics. Have you ever read an issue with Mantis, Tom?
No.
Oh. There's like 4 listeners out there who are like, oh, Tom's one of today's lucky 10,000 to find out about the problematic history of Mantis. Mantis is a Vietnamese former prostitute who speaks in a peculiar manner where she does not say the word I. She says this one.
Great.
Yeah.
Wrap-up thoughts.
That's kind of how Silver and Auric talk in that.
Well, I mean, they're clearly throwaway characters designed to remind or evoke North Star and Aurora, but like, why? Again,
Right,
just like why? I'm just getting kind of tired of like trying to figure out the why behind some of this stuff. And
like, I understand bringing in Gamma Flight as this foil and the government plotline that, I don't know if Hudnall really cares about this level of plotline. He seems to really care about Lan. But the government stuff is here, and I find that much more interesting and much more in line with what Alpha Flight should be dealing with. And this is pretty cool and does work out in cool ways. But like naming them Gamma Flight, bring in this particular crew. Who the fuck is Nemesis? Where the fuck did she come from? Department H doesn't know who Nemesis is. They don't know who's under the mask. And they were like, yeah, sure, you can lead the team. I want to know more about this, man.
yeah, I think subsequent issues kind of go into a little bit more somewhat about Lan's influence leading to a lot of this choice, like bad choices being made all around. But yeah, it happened. I mean, look, it's an issue that happened with a lot of dead bodies. It starts to set up something of a new status quo. Alpha Flight's been off the scene for 3 months, which was enough time for changes to happen, a new supergroup to be formed. Alpha Flight declare persona non grata. They're not allowed to operate as a team or face arrest, et cetera, et cetera. And that's sort of the theme of these 3 issues that we're covering this week. A lot of this Hudnall run has felt a little bit like too much spinning of the wheels. We get an issue where things happen, but really all they're doing is happening to set up what's going to happen in the next issue, which happens only to set up what's going to happen in the next issue, and on and on and on. It's not, the issues don't feel like actual stories unto themselves to a certain degree. They just feel more like it's all about to pop off. It's all about to pop off. And okay, that's just not that interesting to me.
It's a tension choice, you know? I will say this about it. This issue did directly flow out of a lot of what's been happening in the last year of Alpha Flight and ties together the horror, evil stuff as well as the government real world stuff. So despite the issue being horrible and the stuff that happens in it being depressing and weird, it was nice to at least feel like we're back to something that matters after hopping through nameless dimensions just to get 2 issues of Dream Queen World hallucinations.
I think we're hitting the point where Hudnall is writing the story he wants to write. He has things in place. That said, it does continue to feel like we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet. He wants to get to a certain place.
It doesn't feel like it's building up towards it, though. It just feels like you're always on the trembling edge, like we're surfing the wave.
And we'll get into this in our next episode, because we did, read a little bit further ahead so that we could try and start catching up, all that stuff, recording. I finally have the voice back, all that. But it's clear that there's a larger plan that's not being shown or that Alpha is not really figuring out. And it feels right now way too much like the writer of this comic thinks he's too clever by half.
Yes.
And so everything that's happening here is because, I've got a trick up my sleeve. And it's like, yeah, but man, I'm not reading it for you to show that off.
But the trick up your sleeve is 60 dead bodies in 1 issue.
So I think you raise a good point. It's starting to feel a little bit more cohesive. It feels like it's moving towards something. Having said that, it still feels like it's just moving towards something. Nothing is exactly happening. You mentioned the idea of character growth for Walter. There's way too much telling still going on and not enough showing, I think. Speaking of issues that have no real bearing on the ongoing story at hand, next up we have Alpha Flight number 77, titled Shattered Design, cover date mid-November 1989.
No, Alpha Flight did not get 2 issues in a single month, thanks to a helpful and deeply nerdy piece over at Comic Book Resources. I now know that this was part of juggling the cover date to be only 2 months after the book is published, instead of the 4 months it was in comic shops. This is a rabbit hole that goes deeper than I think we're going to dive into right now. But DC was making this change, and Marvel just kind of had to pick a time to change how they were dated. In this month, it looked like the X-Men got 3 issues in that month. That there was like a was it November, a mid-November, and a late November.
I'm assuming this has to do with when things hit different retail establishments and that sort of deal, or
it was
or what?
As comic shops were really digging in, because remember, Alpha Flight is only being offered directly to comic shops. You can't walk into your grocery store and pick it up off a spinner rack, because in 1989 there are fewer and fewer spinner racks every month. So as the comic book industry is shifting away from that over into the direct market through the collectors and the shops, those books would get there earlier than they would hit the grocery store. So if you were waiting for an issue of X-Men, you could wait and try to catch it at the grocery store if you remembered and you were there at the right time. Or you could head over to your local comic shop where you know it's going to be in stock, and you can get it 2 weeks or 2 months earlier, or a month earlier, or whatever. So
Interesting.
Most of the people who are buying books at this point in time, who are the type of audience that they need to move forward, are getting them from the comic shops. And it was just kind of confusing that, you know, in May, you're buying a book that is dated September. I mean, it still isn't accurate. That's why we always have to say cover date. You know, so this was cover date November 1989. That means that the script had to be turned in September of 1989.
I find those kinds of like flows and logistics interesting.
Well, you know, there's a link here in our script, but listeners, just, you know, comic book resources, Marvel cover dates, 1989.
We'll drop the link into the show notes, you know, so you can click there too.
Well, credits for this are the same as last issue, except McLaurin is now managing editor. I don't know what the difference is. Tom, you have slightly more experience and stuff.
It really kind of depends. I mean,
he got a promotion and title only.
It could be that. I mean, he was associate editor previously, right?
And that's the lowest level, right?
Yeah, basically. I mean, so associate editor would probably mean he was taking on a lot of grunt work. Managing editor would, in theory, mean he has more control over. I mean, but managing editor on a specific comic book feels weird to me. The managing editor of, like, say, a press is going to have a lot of like making everything run on time.
Like
those
the
sorts of
physical
elements.
production of the books.
To a degree, I mean, it can mean that. It doesn't always, but it certainly can mean that. So to be a managing editor, unless McLaurin is managing editor across an entire line, assigning him as managing editor to Alpha Flight doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But whatever.
Well,
but it could be like you said, a promotion in name only.
And maybe he's got other books. I gotta be honest, I have not done like a deep cross dive, although I bet someone out there is working on some fantastic infographics showing who is managing what at what time in Marvel and how they connect together, because I would love to see that data presented in a visual format. That would be very helpful to me.
That would be an interesting thing, and then also be able to apply that to apply that to sales figures and see who was doing what, or
cultural trends
what.
When movies come out, historical events when wars are happening, this, that, and the other. Yeah, very interesting stuff could come from that. So, hey, any listener out there got some time on their hands, because, you know, none of us are busy these days. Check it out. Also in the credits for this issue are guest penciler named Hugh Thomas. H-U-W is his first name.
Hugh.
Yeah. I don't believe I've ever seen any other work for him. And when I did a check against my database here, there were no other credits. So sure, Hugh. You did a fine job. I had no complaints. Certainly, I have fewer complaints about you than most issues of Calimee. I can say that.
On the cover, we see the Kingpin sitting at his desk looking over a file folder containing pictures of Vindicator, one of which has her face in crosshairs, issue number 12 style.
Oh, no, Tom, they're not crosshairs. That would imply that he has some type of violent intent. It's a surveyor's mark. Duh.
Okay. And there's text that says
You're supposed
target.
to say, okay, Sarah Palin.
Oh, Jesus.
You didn't clock? That's what the joke was?
I couldn't place it. That's really funny.
Oh, man, I thought that was just right there. Okay, cool. Apparently, I'm a bigger nerd than you.
Okay, Palin. And there's text that says Target, Vindicator. And it's a box like a manila file folder. Kind of neat, reminiscent of the Wolverine number 50 cover, but that's not published till 1992. So, hey, Chris, there's another thing Alpha Flight did first.
Ring, ding, ding. Yeah, so this is a standalone story of Heather in the midst of all this rising evil from La and the Sorcerer and the government and Gamma Flight and seeing all of this murder in Edmonton. Heather goes shopping.
A little retail therapy after seeing all those dead bodies.
And she goes shopping dressed like a North Korean farmer. You know, she's wearing like army green shirt and army green pants that are almost the same, but not quite. It's a really, really weird issue to drop in here. I really think, and I think this came up 2 episodes ago. I think that they needed to give Calimee more time. Like, I think this got plugged in as sort of like the whole shooter era of making sure that there are backup issues so that you never have production delays and everything that they publish every month. I feel like this one may have been just like sitting in a cabinet, and Calimee wasn't able to deliver on time. There was some issue with the script. Who knows who it was? But I am convinced that this was a drop-in, or perhaps a drop-in to affect this change in the month timing. It makes absolutely no sense for this to be here. Yeah, it does fuck with the flow, man. And the next issue, there's a lot of characters in it. There's a lot of varied art. I could see if the next issue, because this doesn't connect to anything at all.
I mean, Heather mentions the issues, all the danger with Lon, the Sorcerer, and all of that. But like, that's the only mention of it. It does go a little bit into geopolitics, like into politics and U.S. and Canada tensions and all that, which starts to crop up a little bit more in subsequent issues that I've already taken a look at. But it didn't need to be here, and it doesn't really expand on it. It does do one thing, which the next issue also does, which is bring Alpha Flight more fully into the larger Marvel universe, because it does bring in the Kingpin. It does bring in certain goings-on in American politics that are going to affect the American comic books, American superheroes and super criminals. But it's weird, man. It's a weird one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so this is issue 77. I could have seen 78. Like, if you didn't read 77 and went straight from 76 to 78, there would be nothing that you felt like you missed whatsoever. Like, I don't think it's even referenced again. But issue 78, like I said, has a lot of different characters, a lot more art. I could see where, as the script gets turned in, Calimee having to be like, yeah, this one's going to take me a little bit longer. Okay. Yeah. I have to learn how to do Doctor Strange and create this whole new character and do all of these other things. So I think that you're right on that. But this story that doesn't matter, it's a spy story involving an American senator who for some reason is also out shopping in Canada and gets assassinated, and Heather gets, grazed by the bullet?
Yes, it barely touches her temple. Chris is just staring at me right now.
So Heather is Trump in this story?
Nope, we're not doing that. Not doing it.
She rises up from the sidewalk yelling, "Fight, fight, fight," with one fist in the air.
Elbows up, elbows up.
Oh, God. Oh, this has just gotten worse. Anyway, so no reason for this senator to be in Canada. I mean, Ted Cruz doesn't even go to Canada, and he's Canadian. There were a couple of cool notes. There's a phone call between Heather and Jeffries that has some cool art to it that Hugh did with a phone cord. Like, there's 2 columns of panels, and Heather's in the left column and Jeffries is on the right column, and there's an old-fashioned spiral phone cord down the middle. And that is a really cool use of space and art and whatnot, but unfortunately it is used to convey to us that Heather's saying, "Hey, honey, I'm getting shot at, there's a conspiracy, so I'm going to be a little late." And Jeffries says, "Sounds good. I've got something to do tonight anyway," as Diamond Lil walks up behind him. And man, as much as I gave Mantlo crap about assassinating JMH's character, Hudnall is turning...
Boy, howdy.
Fuck, man. I will take JMH over this version of Madison any day, you know? I want disinterested leather daddy Mr. Jeffries back. That's what I want. This guy, who the fuck is this guy?
This guy sucks. This guy is like, he's also like indecisive and unsure what he wants. And it's like, dude.
Madison's supposed to be like 38, 42. Like, he's old enough to know better. Like, if he was 23, I'd give it to him, you know?
But even setting that part aside, he has been written as someone who knows better. Mm-hmm. He's been written as someone who like
wants to do the right thing, and he is not.
Deeply in love with Heather, like loves Heather, and despite everything else that's been going on and everything that's the way they've been screwed with, all that, this is just weird. It's weirdly handled. Whatever.
Yeah,
anyway.
Hudnall doesn't seem to do romance or relationships, at least not here. Like, and that's. I get it. He walked into a book, there was an existing romance that was happening, and in an attempt to undo it, he's just replaced it with an even worse romance. Ugh.
It feels strange. And I don't know.
There is one panel, I do want to call out one specific piece of art that Hugh does a great job with, because Heather gets picked up by the police and interrogated and whatnot. But so she's leaving the police precinct from being interrogated in her full Vindicator costume, but still carrying the bags that she had been shopping and buying. And the way that she holds herself, extremely proper posture and looking straight ahead, and she's clearly embarrassed and angry, and the American police don't understand that an angry Heather Hudson is a murderous Heather Hudson. And she is walking out calmly, under control, and not killing any one of these bastards.
Is she that anymore? Like, under Hudnall's pen, I don't really see her as the murder mommy anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, now that you mention, although in this, as the conspiracy unfolds and she finds blah, 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 and she takes him down, in order to shake information out of one guy who is saying, I'll never tell you, and she just uses her EM field to blast, the guy is like spread eagle on the ground, and she blasts a crater between his knees and clearly threatens to blast his dick off. And then he gives up the information. I was like, you know what? That's a very Heather moment. Good job, guys.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would also say a point I was going to make when we're still on the Madison of it all is we don't see them together anymore.
Correct.
And I can't tell if that's because Hudnall is disinterested in their relationship, or if he's setting up that they are drifting apart and so they're never with each other, or somewhere in between the two. But yeah.
So this is a weird little international intrigue story involving spies and whatnot. Much like, if you recall, at the beginning of Alpha Flight, our silly little adventure over in Machine Man number 18, where it was Walt and the twins being sent over into America for not nefarious, but, you know, international relations purposes. But they're done in such different time periods. Like, these are 10 years apart. The world is very different in 1989 than it was in 1979 when the twins were partying down at Studio 54.
Yeah.
It just shows how the world has changed, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Right. And but also the Alpha Flight component to that, like, we covered it because they were there and it was a way to introduce them and keep them moving along. They were more incidental to that story in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a Heather close-up. And it's also interesting to me
she's still incidental to the story. Kingpin didn't intend to take a shot at her, despite what the cover told us. Her involvement was a complete accident, and everybody viewed it as a cock-up.
And everyone did the best they could to remove her from the situation such that she doesn't get more deeply involved. And they succeed.
Well, and Heather being Heather digs in and tries to solve the problem at hand because she's stubborn and doesn't want to face her failing engagement. I think that's all I have to say about this.
There isn't really much more to say about it or to go further in. So that brings us to Alpha Flight number 78, titled Omens. Cover date, December 1989. And we are back to our regular creative team.
This time, Tom DeFalco is simply credited as Chief.
Great.
I hope everybody ran around calling him Chief. Chief! Here's the latest issue for Avengers!
I really hope they didn't do that. On the cover, text that says, Enter Doctor Strange.
And we've got Doctor Strange doing some magic hover move, and we've got Sasquatch shaking down a rich woman, and the Master, who we haven't seen for a very long time, clutching his head like he has a migraine, and then some dude that we've never seen before stabbing another dude with a sword. But here's what I notice about this scene, Tom, and this is the only detail about this I want to go into. So the guy getting stabbed is a superhero. He's got a domino-ish mask. He's, skin-tight outfit and a cape. And he's being stabbed by another superhero-looking guy who's in a white skin suit and a mask. Anyway, the sword penetrates the one superhero and penetrates his costume and then moves through his body and then pushes the cape out behind it. I think that whoever this superhero is really ought to have made his costume out of whatever he made his cape out of.
You are making a why don't they make the planes out of the same material as the black box argument here. Are you kidding me?
But now that I've said that and you look at this cover, you're like, oh, Jesus.
No, I look at it and I think it's Comics Code Authority approved, so it doesn't, guys getting stabbed, but there's no sword or blood coming out of the other end of it. That's what I think, Chris. God.
Image would have put that on the cover.
Of all, what wouldn't Image have done? Okay.
Yeah. I read J. Scott
Sasquatch's
Campbell's book,
dick
but
would have been front and center in every panel if Image was in charge.
Oh God, Alpha Flight is an Image book. Whew. Now that's a nightmare. I mean, you remember how bad Wildcats? Have you read Wildcats?
Oh, yeah. I was there at the start.
What the hell was going on with that book? I still have no clue about anything of it. It makes Gen 13 look well scripted.
Yeah, that was a book they just didn't quite know what they were doing.
They had, there was nothing really wrong with it. Let me put Tom, are you going to claim that Gen 13 is worse than Alpha Flight?
I haven't read enough of Gen 13.
I have.
I know you have.
It is not worse than Alpha Flight.
All right, back to the issue at hand.
Yeah, so the whole point of this issue is that Doctor Strange is feeling there's some evil coming on, which is what we've been told about Lan and his whole thing happening, because Talisman spends a lot of her time in her chamber doing her meditation and figuring out what evil is coming and then directing the team where to go to stop the evil. Well, Doctor Strange is doing that here, and so he gets this weird little itch that something is wrong in Canada and sends out his astral stuff to detect some omens and see what he can figure out. What this is a framing device for the issue, for Doctor Strange to look in on what Alpha Flight is doing now and then have the ability to do some vignettes here of touching base with the different story threads before we move forward and get back on track, which, funny story, we don't. But moving on, let's talk about this issue as it is. We meet some guy in South America. Tom, can you take this section?
Right. So we meet a superhero in Brazil named Captain Força, who is looking into various killings, etc. One note I will make: a female reporter asks him, "What do you think are your chances of finding him, Senor?" But they already made the point this is translated from the Portuguese, and if it's going to be from Portuguese and you're going to translate, it's going to be Senhor. Yeah. So just a minor quibble. He is then murdered.
Oh, so he's the one who made his costume out of the wrong material.
Captain Força retires to his room, where he finds the attractive reporter waiting for him, which seems pretty weird. He's unclear how she got up there, etc. She then gives him pictures of Captain Força dead and transforms into the white-clad character on the cover who says...
Who is also a dude, by the way.
Who's also a dude, who said he took the pictures a few minutes from now after I kill you, and then proceeds to kill Captain Força and then take out a Polaroid camera and snap the pictures. I was so worried initially that this was going to be like a version of Flashback because of the costume and because of some of the suggestion of the power. Instead, he's identified as a character named Zeitgeist. Okay.
And then we move on, and the next time...
And then we just move right along. Like, that's it.
And The next appearance of Captain Forza is in 1995, where he is mentioned off-panel in a Captain America comic book as having been murdered along with several other Latin American heroes. That's it. That's everything about Captain Forza.
I gotta tell you, having a superpowered individual murdering Latin American superheroes with the name Zeitgeist, dude's obviously from Argentina. You are getting what I'm laying down there, yes?
Oh, shit. Sorry. I just connected that.
I can tell by the look on your face.
Christ. Oh, you know that Zeitgeist is blonde under that mask.
Oh, very much so.
Uh-huh. You know that Zeitgeist knows how to make schnitzel.
You know that Zeitgeist's first name is Heinrich.
I read I don't know if it was a tweet or a story or a clip or something, but somebody was saying that when he was growing up, his dad would say, yeah, and Magda Goebbels made good schnitzel.
Jesus.
Because there was like this famous magazine article where they were humanizing the Goebbels, and Magda Goebbels gave her, I think it was schnitzel. It was something with a very German name. Strudel. That's what it was, strudel. And she gave her strudel recipe and talked about this, and it was a total sane washing thing of it, and I think about that a lot these days.
Moving away from South America.
Doctor Strange checks in, and we get to see Heather and Talisman taking possession of Maison Alpha and squabbling about who's in charge of what. There's another vignette where Walter gets to show up to his ex-wife Ronnie's house as Walter, because you recall we last saw Ronnie when Wanda had given up any claim to Walter's fortune and stalked away all upset. Well, now Walter gets to come back all swinging dick and be like, hey, you see this swinging? This means I'm Walter again. That means it's my money. My money. Maybe not exactly like that, but he kind of has that look on his face on page 16.
Well, he also says, in other words, babe, I'm getting my money back. Great guy. Great guy.
He's wearing a Letterman jacket when he shows up. Walt's got to be
This is the most Walt. This is the most Walter has been.
You're absolutely. I mean, when he rings her doorbell and she opens the door, he says, hello, Ronnie, how's tricks?
Yeah, leaning against the doorway like he's king shit of fuck mountain.
You know, compare this to Wolverine as the short hairy sex buffet when he brings Nightcrawler up to Canada. When Wolverine is leaning against the door frame and JMH turns around and sees him, that is not the vibe that Walter gives off here.
No, not at all.
Anyway, there's arguing, and Walter somehow feels like it's a good idea to Sasquatch out and loom over Ronnie and yell at her, saying, that really upset me. I was ready to go looking for someone to squash. Yeah, Walt. And then there's more of Diamond Lil breaking up Madison and Heather.
Before we move into that directly, and there really isn't a ton to say about this vignette. Madison and Lil are visiting Shaman and Puck in the hospital. They both look like crap. Puck looks gone. Puck looks like he's withering away, which they're clearly, obviously, they're setting up that he's going to shrink back down in size. Fine. The vignette closes with Madison and Lil kissing. But before we get to that point, the framing device with Doctor Strange, he's not seeing these scenes precisely. He is getting images that then set up the scenes.
Yeah, he sees Talisman's tiara of power, and then we get the story of why he's seeing that. Right. He sees the diamond earring.
So he sees a heart on fire that then shatters, and inside of it is a diamond, and that diamond image on the very next page, first panel, is the diamond earring. Going back to Talisman and Vindicator, the tiara is wrapped around the Canadian flag. The Canadian flag then turns into the leaf on Vindicator's costume. So I don't love the page with Doctor Strange and the imagery and all of that, but the transition I think is actually pretty strong. Like the transitions have been pretty good, and I think it's worth calling that out when they happen.
I don't like the framing device of Doctor Strange. But it's well executed. I'll give it.
It's very well executed, but the way that again, as I said about the last issue, this is another way of bringing Alpha Flight into the larger Marvel universe by having Doctor Strange interacting. But a lot like the last issue, it undercuts Alpha's actual importance. Because after this vignette, we move on to the Master.
Yeah! Lon reactivates the Master, blah, 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 comic book hand wave away how he survived in his giant fish submarine that Namor wrecked. And Lon informs him that Marina survived and had 3 children with Namor, and that the Master should go get those children and use them in his nefarious schemes, and sets the Master loose on the world. That covers it, right?
That more than covers it. After this vignette, Doctor Strange experiences
pain!
A lot of pain,
like nothing I've ever felt.
Something powerful attacked, broke my concentration. Canada's in deep trouble if these omens are any indication. If only I could get a clearer picture. Those visions were so hazy. It looks like I'm going to have to journey there in person. I must have more knowledge if I'm going to...
And then Wong runs in saying, Master, the Avengers are here for you. And Doctor Strange is like, oh, okay, well, I guess I gotta go with my bros. Canada can take care of themselves.
You set up how terrifying this is. It's even screwing with Doctor Strange. He's looking into it. So you have this larger Marvel mural that they're being woven into, except that the moment that a more important thread shows up, fuck it, Canada can deal with Canada. Like, it's so undercutting of Alpha Flight's place in this larger story. It's really weird in how it doesn't really do it doesn't really do what they think it's doing. It's something.
Yeah, it was an issue that happened and was published, cover date late November 1989, you know?
Again, it continues to build this larger narrative of Talisman and Vindicator butting heads, weird evil beings doing work around the world, possibly under Lon's influence, Lil and Madison growing closer and Madison like falling out of love or something. Like, there are all these things that are being touched on.
There's no motivation for Madison in any of this. There's just a hot brunette who shows up and he's like, I've got my hot redhead fiance, but I'm going to shack up with this hot brunette. Like, I don't get it.
But we're also still just spinning wheels. We are spinning our wheels over and over. The story moves forward incrementally, but it's not...
It feels like we're cutting cookies in the parking lot, you know? Like, we're traveling miles, but we're not going anywhere.
We're not even driving to Dubuque at this point.
We're cutting cookies in the Dubuque Walmart.
Yeah. It's a weird sequence of issues. Like, continuing to build up the threat, but I don't know.
It's almost like Hudnall hit the ground running with the Sorcerer story real hard. And it feels like there's some editorial direction to pull a little bit back and have a few more things going on, you know, Marvel Comics style. And also, hey, maybe make those things connect more to the outside world. And that's what he's done for the last, 6 issues now, is that there's been other Marvel stuff that's hooking into these things. And then the next 2 issues hit the Acts of Vengeance crossover, which, if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably familiar with as not being one of the better regarded crossovers that Marvel tried. Interesting concept of having villains attack heroes that they don't usually attack, just to fuck with the good guys. We have Scorpion and Necra and the...
I've never heard of Necra
I had
before.
never heard of Necra either, other than this. But the Owl is there, and then there was a 4th one. I forget.
The Asp.
The Asp, right. And honestly, Tom, we could almost throw in that coverage of us to say, yeah, the Sorcerer influences some of these bad guys to come up to Canada and attack Alpha Flight because he wants violence in order to open the butthole of the world and unleash evil. That's what happens for the next 2 issues, everybody. Come back next time and we'll pick up with issue 81, you know?
No, we can't quite do that.
Please.
We'll see.
Let us know what you think, folks. If you want to hear the next 2 issues, we will do them. If you don't... we will just leave that as our treatment, okay?
It's a very effective elevator pitch, but also, not a whole hell... I mean, there are a couple other things that would probably... But not a whole hell of a lot else happens.
Yeah, no. If you want the next episode to be about that, it's probably going to be just an extra 6 minutes of us talking about those 2 issues and then moving on to the quest for North Star.
You know what? That sounds... Oh, God, that's what's... Okay, anyway... I didn't know that's what was coming after that.
Oh yeah. It all happens fast. But those are the 3, maybe 5 issues that we've got for you this episode. And boy, they're different. And the way that I compare this is, Tom, are you a fan of Reese's peanut butter cups?
I've been known to partake.
You've been known to partake. Have you partaken recently?
Not of a Reese. Maybe around Easter. I think there were some Reese's candies in there.
Did you notice how it tasted a little different?
Okay. This I am familiar with. Yes.
And even that different it's different from what it was a couple of years ago, and that was different from what it was a few years ago. And it's not just the haze of nostalgia. Like, American candy companies changed up their formulas, trying to keep costs down because chocolate keeps going up. And none of the American candies that I grew up with taste like what I remember them tasting like. That's kind of what Alpha Flight feels like. Someone changed the formula underneath, but kept the branding the same. And we're all supposed to just keep buying a different and clearly inferior product because it's branded like something we used to like.
Now, this was something that I thought about bringing up in this episode.
Yeah, this is tying back to what you connected with earlier.
We've been talking about how there is actually like a narrative thrust here. We just think it's moving at a glacial pace and kind of spinning its wheels, doing donuts more than anything else. But at what point do we stop comparing this to Mantlo or Byrne? I mean, Mantlo had more connective tissue with Byrne, but by the end, it was a very different comic.
But it moved into being that.
And Hudnall's shift has been far more abrupt than Mantlo's in some respects. I mean, obviously the puck shift was pretty massive. I think what we're getting at is the nature of the comic book industry as a whole. Some of the ramifications of serialized storytelling, and the ability to change the driving creative forces behind any artistic product. You know, anything that's put out there is you change up the artist, you change up the writer, you change up any of the moving parts, the director on a show, you really alter what it is and almost create something different and new.
I mean, if there was a show called Why Not Read Alpha Flight with Dick and Harry, like, it would be a different show because Dick and Harry are doing it instead of Chris and Tom, you know?
And they're such douchebags.
Oh, God, I can't stand those guys. They never chip in for beer.
Ever.
Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Chris.
I think that's about all we need to say on that front. Why Not Read Alpha Flight is brought to you by listeners like you who subscribe to our Patreon, and by the Excelsior Embroidery Company, proud sponsor of the Eugene Judd Home for Wayward Youth, whose mission is to ensure the next generation of street-smart toughs gets put through hell to properly prepare them for the future. This week, Excelsior is featuring a pack of the familiar X-Men icon, but in the brown and orange tones of Wolverine's classic John Byrne costume. See this and hundreds more designs at excelsiorembroidery.etsy.com, where listeners of Why Not can use the coupon code WN503 to get 50% off any 3 items in the store.
Why Not Read Alpha Flight with Chris and Tom is recorded in Chicago, Illinois, and deep beneath stately Baker Manor in a fashionable neighborhood outside St. Louis. It is written by Chris Baker, edited by Tom Flynn, with additional cat noises courtesy of Teeny the Needy Calico. Our theme song is O Canada by Five Iron Frenzy. New episodes are released every second and fourth Monday of the month at www.thewhynotpod.com and wherever you get your podcasts, where ratings and reviews are always welcome as a way to help our community grow. And we love hearing from our community. You can reach us on Blue Sky, Instagram, and by email at whynotehpod@gmail.com, whynotapod@gmail.com. Oh, you're going to make me say this joke? Join us next time as we continue our journey through the Hudnall era. This is our journey, our struggle, our kampf.
Shutting it down! Bye, y'all.